What our neighbor means to us, Murdo MacDonald-Bayne. Cast me not off in my old age, forsake me not when my powers fail. Psalm 71:9. The great secret of attainment is to find the kingdom within, the universal creative consciousness, and the right use of that consciousness. This is the only source of power, and we will experience this power when we begin to think with understanding. The individualization of the highest universal intelligence becomes our creative power to the corresponding degree that we recognize it and nothing else. Upon this inner self we must rely, and not upon another self however great. The universal creative intelligence becomes individualized when it is fully realized by the individual as the only source of life and action. The Master said, "It is the Father who ever remains in me who is performing his own deeds." The connecting link between the universal and the individual is the conscious awareness of this great truth that the Master revealed, and this truth must be found by the individual through action, not merely through belief. The thoughts that flow from the consciousness that is feeling aware produces results 100-fold. The whole universe is made manifest in form from the formless through the direct action of thought. The basis of this perfect creation is founded on love. The law of permanent growth in us depends upon the law of love and how to express it. In other words, what profit has man if he gains the whole world and loses his own soul? Paul says, "I may distribute all I possess in charity, but if I have no love I make nothing of it." You may ask me for the rule of successful living, and I will refer you to the Master's words, "Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, and with all thy mind. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself." Love thy neighbor as thyself. These words challenge us. Yet we push them aside, saying it may be a virtue, but it is not practical. But without the observance of this law, no successful living can be attained. Our neighbor is not only essential to us economically and socially, but is also the expression of the one whole to which we all belong. If we are to accomplish successful living, we must understand the joint relationship of ourselves, our neighbors, and the creative principle that lies behind all. The consciousness of this relationship will create a new world for all to live in. Unfortunately, the motive to help serve others is not always pure, for within the desire there is hidden pride and conceit. The clamor to help is more often born of vanity. If we would help our neighbor, we must know ourselves, for we are the other fellow. Outwardly we may be different, but inwardly we are very much alike, driven by craving, dread, and ambition. Without knowledge of the self, we will not understand the other's needs. Without this understanding, we are acting in ignorance, so creating more misery for ourselves and others. If we are inwardly diseased by ignorance, ill will, desire for conquest, full of passion and hatreds, we will spread darkness, misery, and strife. If we begin to understand ourselves and become inwardly aware of true values, we will spread light and peace. The self is a series of volumes and cannot be understood in a day. But once we begin to study, we must study every word and know it from beginning to end, for the end is the beginning and the beginning is the end. If we can understand ourselves and the many paragraphs of which we are made up, then divine wisdom will be found. Our dreams are made up of our inhibitions and cravings, our unfulfilled desires, our fears, and all that beset our waking hours. Is it not necessary then that we become aware of our thoughts and emotions in our waking hours instead of being caught up in them? Our sleeping hours are but the intensification of our waking hours. The proof is found in the problem that we are unable to solve in our waking hours, yet when we sleep over it, the answer is awaiting us when we wake in the morning. We see new avenues which enable us to solve the problems which seemed insurmountable. There has been a lot of nonsense talked and written about the mystery of this phenomenon. The answer is quite plain to the one who understands the wholeness behind everything. So in this so-called sleep, the thin layer of the outer consciousness is quiet and becomes more receptive. During so-called waking hours, the outer consciousness has worried over the problem and has become weary and tense. When the tension is removed, the prompting of the deeper consciousness are discernible, and when you wake up, the problem becomes easier to solve. So the more we are aware of our thought feelings during the day, so the mind becomes quieter. But this alertness must not only be for a few seconds or during set periods. Practice is required, for the outer consciousness is not used to such intensity of awareness. Yet through practice the mind becomes alertly passive to receive promptings from the deeper conscious as in the waking hours. The more aware you are in the outer, so the inner cooperates with the result that there is a deeper and wider understanding of all things. So the answer is, the more you are aware during waking hours, the less dreams there are, for dreams are but the indication of thought, feelings, actions, and desires not completed, not understood. They need fresh interpretation because of frustration. Some dreams are of no importance, but those of importance will remain or may come up in another form yet identical in nature. Through keen intelligence and awareness in the waking hours they will reveal their nature. But if you are too lazy to be aware and go to a dream specialist, he will interpret according to his understanding, which will be entirely out of line with the cause within yourself, so you cause further frustration. He becomes a new priest to you and you have added another problem to the many you have. If you become aware, even for brief moments at first, they will certainly increase, and this will bring a new feeling which is not the result of craving, but a feeling which is free from all personal limitation. As this gathers momentum, you become more deeply aware, and this awareness will continue even while you are engaged in other things. You will notice one thing which is all important, that is, while you are engaged in the necessary daily duties, even though your whole attention may be concentrated upon them, there is an inward awareness that continues, revealing a greater intelligence behind all things. It reveals that which is eternal and ever-present. In this state of consciousness all is possible, and with your action there is no reactions. This is the freedom I want you to have. Through this method our limited intelligence becomes unlimited, which enables us to overcome our mental and material conditions. It enables us to manifest in the world with perfect freedom in thought, feeling, reaction. No man is wise by himself. Of myself am nothing, but with God all things are possible. It is the conscious realization of this magnificent fact that enables us to transcend the limited sense of our outer consciousness and enter into the deeper consciousness to receive power, understanding, and authority that is ours, waiting at times to be used when we have found the source. But the source cannot be found until we have first become deeply aware of thought, feeling, reaction to all that is external, and understand it. As this awareness deepens, we become conscious of our relationship to the creative principle behind all things, thereby consciously employing this creative principle in the great scheme of life for the benefit of the whole. The three are one, become one, not separate. The Self, the Christ, the Father become one. This is the universal all. The Son of Man becomes the Son of God and enters into his eternal home, partaking of all the attributes of the universal all. We have but to speak and he hears. The spirit in man is not separate from the Spirit of God, therefore we all meet in the Christ that is within. Our breathing is but the expression of him who created us, and we will know that he is nearer than hands and feet. We must cease to look upon ourselves as separate from our neighbor, thereby separating ourselves mentally from the great creative source. When we have become aware of what we are doing, we will cling to true values. By then we will banish savagery and barbarism from the world. War and crime against humanity will continue until man finds the Christ within himself, wherein only is God's revelations revealed, enabling us to unite our highest mental and physical efforts for the benefit of all. In the security of the all lies our own security, for there is no security in separation. There is no power in a Christ separate from man himself. It is but an image in the mind, a mere belief. Our love for our neighbor is the divine protection we have against all that assails us. It places us in a constructive, harmonious relationship with others and with him who created us in his own likeness. It will produce in our minds a state of certainty in the world where our individual plans are sure to prosper with the greatest possible success. Love worketh no ill to his neighbor, therefore love is the fulfilling of the law. Benediction. O eternal and ever-present life, my life is thine and thine is mine. I do not ask thee for freedom from conflict and sorrow, because in myself is the cause. I have now learned that ignorance has its roots in my stupid self. I now know that with thy ever-present life in me I am already free, because I was never bound except in my own mind. When I see human suffering beyond human endurance, I know that the realization of thy presence is the cure. Therefore I do not pray to thee in separation, but in unity, for we are ever alive and living in thee and thee in us. This is the peace we can have now, individually and collectively, O beloved one. My peace and my love remain with you. Yours very sincerely, 𝗦 MacDonald-Bayne.